Good morning and welcome everyone. My name is Victoria Hermano. I am the principal at the Academy of Finance and Enterprise High School. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge some special guests we have with us here today. First of all, our Governor Cuomo, Councilmember Rory Lackman, Michael Mulgrew, faculty and staff from the Academy of Finance and Enterprise, we also have two wonderful principals in this building, Valerie Thompson and Mr. Michael Weinstein. Our UFT staff, let's give them a round of applause. And most importantly, this is what we hear every day, fighting for you, our great AOFE students. We also have Governor Deputy Secretary for Education, Mr. Jerry Hartman. So let me start. There is no greater investment than in the future leaders of the Empire State. And since taking office, our great governor has been deeply committed to realizing the dream of high-quality education for all New Yorkers. At the Academy of Finance and Enterprise, we work hard every day to ensure all our young strivers have the opportunity to pursue their passions and explore everything the world has to offer through education. As we are able to maintain this environment, thanks to terrific faculty and staff and countless others who firmly believe, as we all do, that education is the key to unlocking students' full potential. Our success here at the Academy of Finance and Enterprise, however, is dependent on strong partners in state government who shares our commitment to creating a brighter future for all our young people. Governor Cuomo has been that friend and partner over the last 6 years, and I want to take this opportunity to thank him now for his commitment to expanding access to quality education and investing record amounts in our students and in our schools. Thanks to the governor's efforts, we are making transformative investments at all levels of education from pre-K to college. And under his leadership, we are rightly recognizing our teachers for the hard work they put in to change students' lives and help them achieve their dreams. Now, it is my pleasure to welcome someone else who has dedicated his life to fighting tirelessly for education and each and every person in this room, our Governor, Andrew M. Cuomo.
Thank you. Well, thank you. It is my pleasure to be here. I know you're all very disappointed that you're not in class. First, I'm a little nervous. I'm nervous. I want you to know why I'm nervous. I got out of the car, and they said, the principal wants to see you. And it brought me back to my days in high school when the principal wanted to see me a little bit too much, and it always meant detention. So, little PTSD. Your principal is doing a great, great job. She is a great leader. Let's give her a big round of applause. The Principal Hermano. We have here today Michael Mulgrew. Michael Mulgrew is the head of the UFT. He is the greatest champion for education in this state. Let's give him a big round of applause. You have your councilman, Rory Lanceman, who's doing a great job. Let's give him a round of applause. And And all the faculty and all the staff, let's give them a round of applause and thank them. Now, I am going to sign a piece of legislation in just a little bit. That's what this table is here for. The way it works is the state just passed a new education bill, and I want to talk to you about the bill, and then I'm going to sign it, and it's going to become law. It was passed by the Assembly and the Senate, and it's going to have a dramatic effect on education, on your education. And that's why we wanted to talk to you about it first. I am a Queens boy, you should know, born and raised, and proud of it. At one time I worked in the federal government under President Clinton, and I worked in literally every state in the country. And inevitably, I'd be in some state, and after I did whatever I was there to do, somebody would come up and say, "Wow, you have a real New York accent." And I would say, "No, that's not a New York accent. That's a Queens accent, and I am proud of it, and I am still proud of it." And I want to tell you a Queens story, keeping with a Queens boy. My family was all from Queens. My grandparents came. They were poor Italian Americans. Most immigrants who come to this country are poor. Why? Because if they were rich, they would stay where they were, right? They come normally because they're poor, because they're looking for opportunity. And my grandfather, Andrea Cuomo, Italian. I'm named Andrew for my grandfather, Andrea. That was the Italian tradition. They came. They had nothing. He was a construction worker. He was a laborer, made a little bit of money, opened up a delicatessen in South Jamaica, more like a bodega we would call it now, and ran this small delicatessen for a number of years, retired, moved from South Jamaica to Hollis, about a mile away. You would think he really made the big time when he moved from South Jamaica to Hollis, and he bought his own, he used to call it an unattached house. I'd never heard of an unattached house, but he had always lived in an attached house, so now he had a freestanding house. He had children, son named Mario Cuomo, who went to public schools, worked very hard, went to St. John's College, St. John's Law School, became a lawyer, then made the mistake of going into politics. My father wound up governor of New York. I'm his son. I grew up in Hollis, worked hard because that was the culture that my family came from. Went to Fordham Law School, Fordham College, paid my own way through college, worked part-time, worked in a gas station on Hillside Avenue, worked on the weekends, worked up for the AAA. If you got a flat tire in Queens, I was the person who came to fix it. Your car wouldn't start, I was the person who showed up to fix it. You got caught in the snow, I was the person who came to pull you out of the snow. Worked a whole variety of part-time jobs, but paid for college, took student loans, paid for the loans until I was 40 years old, but went to college, went to law school, and I became a lawyer. My sister was smarter than the rest of us. She did very well in school. She became a doctor and went to a state school called Downstate Medical School. And that's how she afforded to become a doctor. So you look at the story of Andrea Cuomo and his wife, Mary. One generation, their son becomes governor of New York. One grandson becomes a lawyer, the granddaughter becomes a doctor, and this all happens in the span of 30 or 40 years. My grandfather used to say, "God bless America," and he would cry. He would cry. God bless America, and he would cry. Why? Because what he was saying is, we had nothing. We were poor Italians in the farm country in Italy. We had nothing. And we came to this land, and they didn't know anyone, and they didn't know how to speak the language. And look at the progress that this country allowed them to make. in such a short period of time. You go from poverty to having a son who's governor of the state, the granddaughter who's a doctor, which was the highest honor. Politician, doctor, that was something special. God bless America. America allowed that to happen. And what made that all possible was the education system. It was the education system, because that's what this country says. This country doesn't say to anybody, I'm going to make you a success. We're going to make you rich. I'm going to wave a wand and you're going to become an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor or make a lot of money. The country does say, we're going to give you an education system where if you work hard and you study, you can wind up being whoever you want to be. And this country says, I don't care how much money you have, and I don't care the color of your skin, and I don't care your accent, and I don't care what country you come from. Anyone can become a success in this country. That is the magic of America. When people say, well, America's special, God bless America, and they cry. When your parents will say, God bless America, because only this country lets you do that. Most countries, you're born poor, you're going to die poor. You don't have that opportunity. Only America. You're now seeing anger in this country. People are angry. Hate crimes are way up. Anti-Semitism, way up. Racism, way up. Why? Because people are angry. Well, what are they angry about? You see it in politics. It's about anger. Why? Because people think that the dream of America isn't working the same way. That they're not going to make progress. Worse than they're not going to make progress, that their children aren't going to make progress. One day you'll see you're blessed, you have a child. You care more about that child than you care about yourself. And if you don't think that child's future is bright, you think someone is hurting your child is disadvantaged, now you're really angry. And that's what people feel about this country. That it's not fair. They don't have the same shot at opportunity. And that's why making the education system work and work well is so important, because that's where the hope comes from. You have the best public education system on the globe, and it'll take you as high as you want to go. That's why when you hear these speeches and everybody says, children are our future and education is our future, and you say, oh, that's just a speech. It's true. It is true. It's what made America, America. It's a Queens story. It's a Brooklyn story. It's a Bronx story, because that's where the immigrants lived. They didn't live in Manhattan. They couldn't afford Manhattan. So you grew up in Queens and Brooklyn and the Bronx and Staten Island. And that story of the Cuomos, that was replicated thousands of times. Irish people, Polish people, Jewish people, over and over. Now it's Asian people, Latino people, over and over and over. Generation after generation. That's why this country was such a magnet, bringing people here. Because they said, I want that part of the dream. But we have to make the education system what it was. We have to say to people, you have a public education system that is the escalator and can bring you as high as you want to go. And the law that we're going to sign in a few minutes is probably the most radical, revolutionary law in improving education. There's three things. First, it invests in teachers and honors teachers. Why? Because teachers are the linchpin. This is not an education, not about the building. It's not about the chairs. It's not about the desk. It's about the teacher. So we have the master teacher program to give teachers more and more skills so they can continue to grow. We have teacher centers so teachers can get together and talk about their job, because teaching is hard. My mother was a teacher. You have to be smart. You have to be patient. You have to be understanding. I could never be a teacher. Everybody would get the attention if I was a teacher. I have no patience for any of it. So it's a very hard occupation. And we have a special award that we started that we're going to do this year where we pick the best public school teacher in regions all across the state, and we honor them and we give them an award, $5,000 to continue their education. Mr. Mulgrew is one of the judges. It's our way of saying we honor and we respect teachers. And we honor and respect and let's take this opportunity to say to your teachers here today that although you may not say it or show it every day, you have a deep appreciation for what they do and the sacrifice they do. Give them a big round of applause. The second thing we're going to do for education is we're going to invest over $1 billion more this year into education than last year. $1 billion more. That's now over $25 billion that we spend on education. We spend more per child to educate in education dollars than any other state in the United States of America, and I am proud of it. I've done 6 budgets. Your finance people, over 6 years, the education budget has gone up over 33%. That's how much the budget has gone up, and I'm proud of it because you do need the facilities. You still have schools in this city where you have students who are in trailers, and that is just unacceptable. That's not the public education system that this city and this state promised, and that's going to end. And the financial investment is going to help make that possible. I also want to point out, in New York State government, you have the Senate and the Assembly. The New York State Assembly worked especially hard to get this budget done. So let's give them a round of applause. And the third piece, and the last piece, and something you should pay attention to. This state is going to be the first state in the United States of America that offers free college tuition to any family under $125,000, okay? Now think about this. Think about this. At one time, people didn't think you needed an 8th grade education. They thought that was extravagant, that you needed to go to school until 8th grade. Then we progressed a little bit, and people started talking about high school. And maybe we should have high school that's free and have public high school. And people said, nah, you don't need public high school. That's too much. That's extravagant. And then we had free public high school. Well, the next step in that progression is college. You look at the future, you anticipate where we're going. More and more, you're going to need a college education. You're going to need it individually. We need it collectively as a society. Why? Because the way the businesses are developing now, they need a highly skilled workforce. It's all about skills. It's all about talents. You have a different challenge, a different generation. I was outside of Buffalo in upstate New York a couple of weeks ago, and there was an engine manufacturing plant for car engines. Now, I know car engines, right? I worked in a gas station. I was all excited to go to the engine manufacturing plant. You know what I never saw in the engine manufacturing plant? a tool. There were no tools. It was all computers. Everything was computerized. And there was a young person at a computer every 25 feet, and when the machine messed up, they typed a few keys, and the machine went back to work. It's about skills. It's about education. New York and the United States used to be the best in education. New York, we had the most educated workforce in the United States at one time. Now we're number 11 in the country. This country, United States, had the most educated workforce on the globe. Now we're number 12. That's a problem. We have to show the same vision that we showed with 8th grade and high school and say we want all our people to be able to go to college because that's where the future's going to be. And we want that dream to be realized by everyone. Up to $125,000. Why? Sounds like a lot of money. $125,000. If you have 2 kids or 3 kids and you're putting them through college and paying a mortgage and paying taxes and paying insurance, it's not a lot of money. And ideally, I want to work to get to a place where college is free for everyone, just like high school is free for everyone, just like up to 8th grade is free for everyone, because that's when we will reach our full potential. You can go to a SUNY school, a CUNY school, and the tuition is free. Now, we call it a scholarship because we want you to do something in return. We want you to study and do well. We don't want to pay the tuition if you're not going to study. We want you to graduate in 4 years. Why? College is supposed to be 2 years or 4 years. There was an old movie before your time, Animal House, where they said, I'm on the 7-year college plan. We don't believe in the 7-year college plan. 2 years, 4 years. And then we want you to agree you're going to stay and live in New York for 4 years afterwards. Why? Because if the taxpayers are going to pay for your education and make you smart and make you successful, they want to have you here. We want you to stay in New York, right? That's why the taxpayers are investing in you in the first place. Federal government will invest and pay for your college. They then want military service in exchange. Living in New York, that's a good thing anyway, right? I don't know why anybody would want to live anywhere else besides New York. So that is the first program of its type in the country. And what it says to me is it comes full circle. You want to restore the dream. You want to restore the hope. You want to make people feel positive. Every child can go to sleep tonight and say, you know what, I don't care how much money mom has. I don't care how much money dad has. I don't care if there's a mom and a dad. This state will invest in me to go as far as my dreams will carry me. You want a college education? You want a 2-year college? You want a 4-year college? This state will give you that gift because you deserve it and the state deserves it. And why does this state go first? Because New York is not just another state. Maybe I'm a little biased as the governor of New York, but this is a special state. And on all the important things, all the big historic developments, New York always went first. First state to start the environmental movement, state of New York. First state to start the women's rights movement, state of New York. First state to pass workers' rights, state of New York. First state to recommend to understand a woman's right to choose, state of New York. And now the state of New York is going to lead the way in education. And you mark my words, other states are going to follow. Because this is the next step in education and advancement for the people of this great country. And that's why it's my honor to be with you today and sign the bill here in front of you so you'll witness history. Now I want you to give a big welcome and a big round of applause to a champion of education, my friend, a person who worked very hard to make this dream a reality, Michael Mulgrew. Thank you.
Let's hear it for the governor again. Come on. It's nice to hear about free college tuition, huh? Come on, you can go if you want to. So, I just want to put this moment in context right now. The governor of New York is putting forth in this fight in our budget this great education bill, and he said, I want to sign it in a public school in the state of New York in front of the students, because that's what this is all about. And that is the measure of the man I know as Andrew Cuomo, because he does this work for what it's really supposed to be about. And as he said, in education, Michael, it's always about the students, and we need to make sure we always focus on it. So thank you, Andrew, Governor Cuomo. Okay, so now let's get down to it. It's May, you're high school students. You having fun? You getting a little frisky? Huh? You're out of school, you're out of class today right now? That's a little fun, right? Yeah. It's nice out. There'll be no cutting. I was a high school teacher for 13 years. I know cutting. You guys have to do a good job in school. That's why we're here today. So I want to put this in a different way for you. I am very fortunate to represent the Teachers Union of New York City. So I know we've done this already, but I want the entire staff of this school to stand up. The teachers, the guidance counselors, the paraprofessionals, the administrators, just stand up. Come on, stand up. Thank you. I'm going to tell you a little secret. It's May. You're all getting happy and excited, right? It's May. They're tired. They're very tired because it is a tough job. It's a very tough job. And I'm so proud that we're here today. And as the governor said before, New York is a great place. It's a phenomenal place. Because what's going on here today is probably not going on. I know it is not going on in most of this country right now. I have another job besides the job of leading this union in New York City. I am a national vice president for teachers, and I get to travel from state to state, and most of those travels are not fun. Right now, I'm dealing with a bunch of elected officials who are sitting there saying the children are our future, we have to do everything for education, and then all they want to do is cut, cut, and cut. And I tell them to their faces all the time, I say, when you stand up and say it's about children, and then you do everything in your power to cut education, you lie every time you give that speech. Because it's not about the children or the future if your actions are saying you're trying to deny them of their future. And that's the difference. And that's why I love this state. And that's why I'm so appreciative of the governor and the Assembly, Speaker Hasty, and everybody who did all of this hard work this time. Because when I have to go to New Mexico and I see education being cut dramatically, Arizona, Illinois, when I am working with parents in the state of Kansas because they're at an all-time low of per pupil spending and they have filed and won a court case because their state only wants to fund, they believe that each child's education shouldn't cost more than $4,000. Just to put that in perspective. You wouldn't want to be a high school student in Kansas right now because your programs would be cut. You wouldn't have after school. You'd be sitting in a classroom with 70 kids. That is not telling you that you are the future and we're here to support you. And that's why I want you all to say, do you love New York? Do you love New York? Is New York the place to be? And just think of this very clear message that we are sending right now. In New York, when we say that the children are our future, we stand by it. In New York, when we say that education can make a difference, we stand by it. In New York, that when we say if you give a child If you give a child an opportunity and the support, despite whatever challenges they face in life, they can be successful. We stand by it because we know in New York, we are the great state. We are the great state. So I know you're probably saying, can he keep talking so we don't have to go back to class? But you have to go. You have to get back sooner or later. Remember, you got your regents coming up, right? What are you saying? Oh, aren't you going to do well on your regents? Who said no? I heard somebody over here. You're going to do very well. Just think of the time and effort you put into this. But again, we are so happy to be here. This is a great school. You show everyone. You probably never think of it this way. We look at all these numbers and data and everything. This is a great school, and it's a great school because of everybody who works here and because of your effort as the students here in our school. So we're now about to start. And when I started, I think this says everything that this bill is going to be signed in a high school auditorium in New York, because it really has always been about the students. So let's hear it again. What state do we love? Who lives in the best state? There you go. All right, let's hear it for New York and Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Hold right over here. Hold right here.